Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. First of all, thank you all for joining us. So again, I'm Andrew Pleninger. I am the Urban Community Forestry Program Head with the North Carolina Forest Service. Welcome to our webinar this morning. Joining me on the back end here is Brent from our Information Education unit. Is kind of doing the proctoring, so he'll help me along here. So our general protocol here, I don't know what the head count is, but first of all, we are recording this and we're going to load it on our YouTube channel for future viewing. I'm going to ask you if you would please enter your name and organization and job title in the chat window now, so we can have a record of it that you joined us. In terms of future staying connected for all urban community forestry needs and Forest Service, you see the, and I'm forgetting the name of these images, but you can stay connected with us. It helps us manage a mailing list. So I'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit. So the protocol will be, I'm going to go through a presentation here. Would ask you to enter your questions in the chat. Depending on how big our audience is here, we can open this up a bit more. But once I get through my presentations, we'll go through those questions. I'll answer them and perhaps open it up to some discussion. We'll take it as it goes here. So look, agenda, as you're looking at, we're going to be talking about the changes and some opportunities, funding opportunities out there, and then most importantly, how this all frames up in our new financial assistance program, finishing off with those questions. So a little introduction for those of you who do not have not met us all and who we are. The Urban Community Forestry program with the North Carolina Forest Service. We're our federally funded program completely. A small unit here, 3 staff, myself, the program head, a new position, the community forestry coordinator, which provides financial, administrative, and community outreach. Carla Rudnicki, who just started a couple of weeks ago. And then we have an urban forestry specialist who provides technical assistance to communities, currently vacant, but we are in recruitment and hope to be filling that soon. So a little summary about here, we are here to serve you folks. Our customers are you, municipalities, organizations, but we are also serving our Forest Service district and county staff, providing them guidance and expertise in turn to provide that assistance to you folks. We have some 500 foresters and 100 county rangers out there. So they are your local resource. So we provide you and them urban community forestry expertise. We provide training and education through partners. The North Carolina Urban Forest Council provides the bulk of our training. We give them funding to do that. We provide grant funding, cost share. We'll be talking about that. And ultimately, we are here to provide some state level leadership on moving urban community forestry program across the state forward. Ultimately, this is all about partnership building and coordination. So we all have a piece. We are not a big unit. So what we do is trying to partner with everybody out there to move our common goals and objectives forward. Okay, so I say major changes and opportunities because they are. And starting with our complete redesign on our financial assistance program. Based on experience, it had become very cumbersome. We identified the need to rework it, so we've gone through it, and hopefully the result is going to be a more streamlined and efficient process for all of us, make it simpler. The opportunities, unprecedented federal funding opportunities coming down, which I'll be talking about that in a bit, but this is a very exciting time, and our redesign of financial assistance program, I've been organizing ourselves to help move that funding to you as in the most efficient manner. And the caveat here, these are some new processes, so I expect there will be hiccups, but recognize that, you know, working together based on our experience and new information, we'll make adjustments to our service delivery to improve those things. Okay. So in the end, as I say, our approach here, you know, mine is that, you know, we are a resource and what tools we can provide you to help you meet your goals and objectives. But as it relates to this financial assistance program, do that in the most efficient manner for you and us. So first, you know, I mentioned that we have the North Carolina Forest Service staff that's available. Your local assistance is that county ranger and some district staff to be your people on the ground, be your first contact to connect you to our services and all the services the North Carolina Forest Service has to offer. The Urban Community Forestry staff, so we are the folks that can help. Our website is in a current update. So I'm going to focus you to the financial assistance web pages and associated pages with that for this information. You're going to be seeing in our website will change. Both it needed it, but to align more with where we're headed in the future. But focus on that financial assistance pages. Coming soon is a North Carolina Urban Community Forestry Cloud, which is a website that can will house all of the stakeholders, everybody that's out there doing urban community forestry. It's pretty exciting, things that are going on and connecting everybody. Ultimately, I'm pointing out QR code. That's what I was looking for, right? Subscribe to the NC Forest Service news. This is where we're going to maintain our mailing list. We've had challenges over time. Everybody knows how tough it can be to maintain a mailing list. This is an automated way for us to do it. You can go in, sign up, pick that information that you want to receive, what you want, and manage your account. So it's in your hands. Please sign up so you can learn all the urban community forestry news, as well as other Forest Service news that may be of interest. Okay, so let's talk about the funding. And I want to give you a little bit of overview of the North Carolina Forest Service managed funding, how we receive funding, because it's important on how, when we deliver it to you, but how we organize things too. So every year, the Forest Service receives an annual consolidated program grant, it's called. There's an annual allocation. Urban Community Forestry is one of those. This has been in place since roughly 1972. It's part of the Farm Bill. Congress and the president put up the budget forward, and we get an annual allocation. So historically, any funding that we've been passing down through grant programs, financial assistance, has come from this consolidated grant program. What I want to point out is that in recent years, there have been special supplemental congressional laws that have been coming more common. A good example is federal disaster supplementals, where Congress says we have a particular item that we want addressed, and they create a law with some funding associated with it. We had some federal disaster assistance for Florence and Michael, where we did some canopy cover assessments for municipalities on the coast. We'll be touching here more recently, as maybe you heard, the 2021 infrastructure bill that was passed by Congress, and now most recently in August, this 2022 Inflation Reduction Act. The thing to recognize is each one of these particular funding streams comes with their own requirements. And so you're going to see that reflect in when we have offerings, if they have slightly different requirements, that's where that comes from. So aside from us, recognize there are other opportunities out there. Arbor Day Foundation has a number of grant opportunities. You go directly for them for tree planting projects, urban forestry related. American forests, traditionally, traditional forestry funding, they are kind of moving into the urban forestry realm too. So these are organizations that you can get funding from too. I mentioned the 2021 infrastructure bill. We received some funding for this, for urban community forestry. In fact, it's going to be funding the RFA that's out right now. But also other federal agencies have urban community forestry related activities that may be out there. For example, tree planting relative to stormwater. But recognize as you're searching, these might be opportunities from other agencies that you can take advantage of. And then finally, this 2022 Inflation Reduction Act. So let's talk about that because that is a biggie. So I am going to start with what I would call a caution or a disclaimer. I want to give you what I know today. This has been very fluid. Details and guidance has almost been updated daily. What I'm giving you here is a summary page. I will post this on our website that gives you links, but essentially this is going to be the detail on the Inflation Reduction Act, and a subtitle D, the forestry section and state and private forestry. Here is the biggie, $1.5 billion for urban community forestry. Available through September 30th, 2031. Summarizing, it says authorizing the Forest Service to issue competitive grants to state agencies, tribes, local government agencies, educational institutions, and not-for-profit organizations. What is somewhat different about this is that typically these grants would go through us. And what I think is going to be, we will be managing it, but this is also going to go out to you folks to apply for directly from the Forest Service. So further summarizing, these will fund tree planting and related activities. So that really is pretty much anything under the sun in terms of doing urban community forestry. Another huge change is that there is no limit in how much you can request. 80% of funding must go to community level projects. It'll allow up to 20% for administrative costs. The other primary focus is that this is to help assist disadvantaged communities. Now, the definition of those is not very detailed. It leaves us, we are getting more information as it goes along, but essentially I'm referring you to what is the presidential executive order and what is called the Just Authority Initiative to kind of get some more details. What this does is for disadvantaged communities, there are going to be match waiver eligibility offerings for some of this funding. Okay. So where are we today? As I mentioned, they're going to be issuing that to state agencies, and they did issue an advice letter to us back in December that laid out some guidelines and asked us to develop proposals which are to be completed by the end of this month and anticipated to be awarded to us by July. And what I'm sharing you here is the draft proposal as I've laid it out that I have submitted to the Forest Service. And it really is to fund two key areas. One is capacity building. The second is funding particular practices and activities through our financial assistance program. So capacity building, I recognize both from my end in terms of managing these projects and you folks, we need professionals and staff to make this work happen. So I am applying for roughly $1.3 million a year. 99% of that is going to be to pass through money to you folks. On the capacity building side, we want to fund professional staff and any kind of administrative tools. I will be asking to fund a urban forestry specialist position. And I say a half, I'm going to fund the other half out of our other annual allocation. So we will be in person adding an additional urban forestry specialist, if this is approved, and have one serving the east side of the state and the other the west side of the state. The remaining of that funding will be put out through our financial assistance program. So you'll be able to apply for that. And then, as I say, funding urban community forestry practice and activities through the financial assistance program, and recognizing that Urban Forest Council is a big partner with us in all of this. And will be an example on the current offering. We use them to help it manage the program. So we'll be doing more of that. So the second biggie is that the Forest Service will do this public offering, where any qualifying agents, you'll be able to apply directly to the Forest Service for the funding. And it's anticipated this would be put out maybe in July. So keep tuned. So you will have two ways. One is through us, and that's where I'm trying to provide assistance to help you build programs. But for larger projects, you can go right to the Forest Service. Take homes from all this. Well, how do you identify, develop, and implement projects? Do some work there, and how you may resolve any administrative or expertise deficiencies. And recognize developing and foster partnerships is the best way to do that, us being one of those. So, okay. All right. So that is a summary there. Let's go to talk about the financial assistance program. So as you go to the North Carolina website, Urban Community Forestry, as I said, financial assistance page is your go-to. General layout here on this main page is all the kind of program structure, and then resources over here, the different types of practices and activities. And this resources and specifications page is where we are going to be loading supplemental documents to help you all. As I say, we are building it as we go, and you'll see what information up there is now relative to our offerings, which are going to be shown here on the right-hand side of the page. This is the current offering. Clicking that will take you to the application document, and then future offerings will be posted here. So let's talk a bit about the program. Our primary objective is to assist communities to reach a level of sustainable management that matches, your goal and capacity. And we define urban forestry as doing the forestry work. That is doing the tree planting, maintenance, and care of those trees. Community forestry is engaging the community in that effort. So the ordered accomplishments of these practices, activities build upon each other, and ultimately are enhancing your level of management and lead to long-term program success. So where is a community along this process? We use 6 standards to measure where you are in this development process. For those of you that are Tree City, you may recognize a number of these 4 are the kind of the general standards for achieving Tree City. So again, do we know where you are on this, or you're not doing anything? Do you have at least one activity or standard achieved. Achieving Tree City being that first milestone. And then achieving management includes these additional 2 standards. So we will measure where you are. We have information on that. We will be asking for this type of information through the application process. So the financial assistance program is designed to help you move up this hierarchy by providing financial assistance in achieving activities and practices to help you move up this ladder. Who is eligible? That hasn't changed. Governing agencies and not-for-profit organizations. All the applications will have these basic prerequisites. We want you to have a committee that you've established to work on this project. It can be an established or new one. You need to contact your county ranger, inform he or she that you're submitting an application. In all your work, adhere to current standards, using credentialed professionals, and the project needs to fall within the incorporated boundaries of a municipality or tribal community. The eligible practices, on that practices and activities, but they're grouped in these main categories: tree inventories and assessments, policies, ordinance, plans, community forestry activities, etc. Program structure, it is cost share reimbursement. They are funded 50% federal, 50% awardee cost share reimbursement basis. So we're only going to be funding goods and services purchased related to the completion of the project. Just recognize you can't use other federal funding as part of your 50% contribution. Now, a big change is we will offer this additional assistance for disadvantaged communities as well as 501c3 not-for-profit organizations. How do we define a disadvantaged community? One, a disadvantaged governing agency, a tribal government, number 1, but 2, is the governing agency located within a Tier 1 distressed county as defined by the Department of Commerce. This, you can read more about how this is calculated, but it is legislated through the North Carolina legislature to determine these. So essentially any organization, municipality that's located within a Tier 1 or organization, we are going to categorize you as a disadvantaged community, and you will be offered some of the additional assistance. The other, when we mine down to smaller than a municipality, any area that's outside of one of these Tier 1s, we are using the climate and economic justice screening tool, going down to a census block level. This tool shows those areas that are classified as disadvantaged by census block. So if you were, for example, Raleigh is not in a Tier 1 community, but the end result is Raleigh won't be eligible for any match waivers, but a not-for-profit that has a project that is, say, specifically addressing a disadvantaged community area such as the census block would be eligible. So again, whether a disadvantaged agency is either one, if there are not reduced or no cost share, let me back that up. A governing agency that's in a Tier 1 would be eligible for any reduced or no cost share match that's provided by a specific funding program. If that's not available, they would be allowed to do an optional match structured grant, which allows in-kind costs incurred in managing the project in lieu of cash contributions. So if there aren't reduced match assistance available, this could be an alternative, and we will help you work with that. Same is true of the 501c3. One is they are eligible to use the match style grant contract, match style budget. And if their project is located in within one of those disadvantaged census blocks, or the project is in one of the tier 1 distressed areas, they would be eligible for any reduced match that may be offered by a federal funding program. So how do you apply and when? So as I've showed you, we will have requests for applications. Traditionally, we did 1 a year in January. Now we are going to be moving to 2. These are be updating this soon. Essentially, we will be offering January and again in July. 2 application periods. How will they be awarded? We're going to take within each RFA, divide the applicants into the 2 groups, either the cost share group or the disadvantaged community group. Evaluate those applications for completeness. We'll see where you rank in terms of the hierarchy. And these are kind of the general criteria that we'll be using to measure where you are and scoring. Does the activity build upon a recently completed activity? Is it moving you up the ladder? Does it take you to the next step in your management classification? If you're a tree city, you will be given an extra point. A big one is how quickly can you start this project? Do you have the money available now? If so, that's going to move you up. So the applications will be ranked highest to lowest, awarded until the funding is exhausted. If we have any ties, we'll be looking at population equitable distribution, ultimately lottery if necessary. Unused funds would be available for the other program group, depending on the funding source, if it allows it. So, general overview of the program. Let's take a look at the specific offering we have here now, which is the sample tree inventory and canopy cover assessment program. So again, these postings are going to give you the details that this particular offering has. Amount of funding available, roughly $100,000. It is cost share unless you are a disadvantaged community, as we defined it before. And depending on how you look this, it's not going to cost the municipality zero cost to the municipality. We're going to dedicate 40% of the funding to this disadvantaged communities. Eligible organizations are municipalities, not-for-profits that are working on an agreement with the municipality. Details on how the services will be completed. This is being completed using a contract we have with the council and a consultant to provide these services. How long it's going to take to complete these once we award these projects. How will the agreement be written? Again, this is through the council, so some detail about how that happens. Award information, it is nothing, follows our standard. If there was something different, we would be putting it here. And then how do you complete the application? So we are now going to an electronic application process rather than the long proposal process, and essentially saying, be prepared with the information before you begin to do your application, because you'll need to complete that once you start. You can't do a partial and then go back. So what you will need, copy of the application that details the questions, and then a copy of the sample tree inventory and canopy cover assessments fact sheet. Here's where you'll apply. You'll click that, but let's jump over to see those 2 documents you'll need. And again, we will be populating this with the information you need. Financial assistance, copy of the request for application. Sample tree inventory and canopy cover. So here is all the questions you're going to be asked. So grab this and be prepared to answer all these questions. All right, let's give you a little detail about this. Is pretty exciting stuff. So as I said, we have partnered with the council and Planet Geo to provide sample tree inventories and canopy cover assessments on demand on a unit price basis. So if awarded, we can do an agreement with you and literally have a canopy cover assessment done within 3 months, a sample tree inventory done within 6 months. I will let you look over more detail there. I'll point out a report that's in our resources there that tells you more about a canopy cover assessment. This is a great tool for all size municipalities, but I think, in particular from a community that is just starting out, because it's going to show all the information about the urban forest in your community. What the distribution is. Here is Jacksonville, 41% canopy cover. They have 29% opportunity to plant additional trees. So it gives you really great. Other important thing is that it calculates the ecosystem services that this provides: stormwater, carbon sequestration, pollution traffic. So a lot of great information to help you do some planning and identify what the value of our urban forest is to the community. So part of completing the application, we'll ask you to give it, a cost estimate. On a canopy cover assessment, you start with your square miles. You take the analysis cost, which is laid out here depending on the size of the community. And there are 3 different levels. You can pick the one you may want to do. And then you ultimately add this base setup and report fee to get your estimate. Put it in your application what you intend. We would certainly will be talking to you about picking the right one if you want when we get to that award side of things. Sample inventory, I would recommend as you get to Tree City, this might be your next step. This provides good estimates, numbers of trees, work needs, and can help you develop budgets. The canopy cover assessment is kind of a 10,000 foot view. The sample inventory is now we're on the ground, so we're getting some actual good estimates. Again, if you plan to do that, here is how you would calculate an estimate. You need the number of street miles, that's not lane miles, and acreage of public property and parks. And essentially, depending on the size of your community, you multiply the sample size times those street miles or acres, and then times the unit price cost to get your cost estimate. The data that's collected from this is going to be loaded into that cloud software that I talked about a little bit before, which will also include some tools to present that and share that with others. So pretty cool stuff. Okay. So you now have your information together. You would click to apply, and it's going to bring you to the application and walk you through it. So, okay. So I am finished with that. Hey, Brent, let's open it up to questions. Let's see. Did I stop sharing?
I still see your screen, and there are several questions in the chat.
Okay, where am I? Stop. Pause share. Stop share. Okay. Let me see. How many folks do we have?
Looks about 15.
All right. Bear with me a sec. Federal or state? All right. All right, so Alan asks, what was the website for the disadvantaged site census blocks? I'm going to refer you to the web page, our web page, but it is the Climate and Economic Justice Tool, which is a federally managed site. Freester, federal or state, I'm not quite sure what that means. So Trees Durham, some questions around the application. So who can you, they had a couple of questions. Hey, Brent, can you?
Hey, we can just ask them out loud.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey,
Mike.
hey. So we are just wondering, and I think Dave also was wondering too, is this only for tree inventories, or can this be for tree planting projects, for capacity building? How is this first set of funding being utilized or available?
So at the moment, what is open, and I thank you for bringing it up. At the moment, what is open is for that inventories and canopy cover assessments. Come March 1st, we are going to do 2 additional, one for urban forestry practices and one for community forestry practices. That's going to be a limited, much more limited funding on what I have at the moment. We are not into the IRA funding yet, but I will be putting that out March 1st. So check back, and yes, the answer to your question is funding will be available for additional projects.
Thank you.
So Chase, are you there from City of Eden?
Yes,
Chase,
I'm here. Sorry, my camera's not working right now.
Yeah, no matter, no worries. So you filled out an application after seeing the webinar. It looks like you made some mistakes. Would it be acceptable to submit another application and void the last? Go ahead and just submit another one.
Okay, good. Thank you.
We'll be able to sort. I did see the you had in there. I think maybe you didn't put your cost in. You know, remember, this is an application that certainly, you know, if you had questions, put it in, because it you know, ultimately we have to and want to distribute the funding when it comes to it fairly. So if in doubt, submit something. Let's see. All right, Dave Klemp. Are you there, Dave? Application only specific projects and
Oh,
not
yes.
general tree planting operational budget.
I had to find the unmute button.
Yeah. Will these same guidelines then be applied for 2 tree planting initiatives?
The 50-50 matching, the disadvantaged areas, all that stuff will stay the same next month when you open up.
Yeah, although that funding won't have disadvantaged community eligibility.
Okay, so that's not something I need to worry about.
That's for you to decide.
Okay.
Yeah, that funding is coming out of our CPG that does not have the match waiver offerings.
Gotcha. Okay.
So looking to the future, and we don't have right now specific tree planting or maintenance as a fundable activity, but the IRA funding will allow that. So when we receive that, we will be issuing for tree planting projects alone. That has not been something we have traditionally done, but also maintenance, tree removal and planting. That is to come yet, but certainly something to plan on. If you have those issues, start doing some planning now. So thanks for bringing those questions up.
Thank you.
So Jamie, Lissy says, if we are not a disadvantaged community, does the match have to be cash or is it in kind? The answer is no, it has to be cash. Who can answer the questions? This is from Cultivator Inc. Who can answer questions while you're filling an application? Let's see. Well, for one, your local county ranger, you need to contact them about submitting an application. They can provide some assistance. If you have issues reaching them, you can certainly reach out to us. David asked if a community has not started on the pyramid that I showed earlier, that hierarchy, can they apply? Absolutely. In fact, if you notice among our scoring, if you are a community that is just starting, we want to help you get moving. So those are going to be some higher points. We are focusing on trying to help communities that have an absence of expertise. Ultimately, I think the city of Raleigh's and Charlotte's that are in pretty good shape have professional staff. We historically have not had enough funding to help them. But our program is also designed to help those communities that don't have expertise and capacity. So we absolutely, and that's where we target our assistance primarily. All right. Carolina, let's see. Are you there? No mic. Okay. Carolina says, if our community is not a disadvantaged area, but whose children all attend a disadvantaged census block in another town, would we qualify if partnered? That's a pretty hard question to answer. I think you need to look at it this way. We fund either a governmental organization or a governmental agency or a school or a 501c3. We have to have a contract. So that organization has to define what the project is. So one, to receive any of those additional assistance, you either have to be a municipality that's located within those tier 1 counties, or you need to be a 501c3 that's working in one of those counties, or a 501c3 that's working on a project that's one of those disadvantaged census blocks. I hope that answers. Can we apply as a school? Yes, but this, you're going to have to look at the particular program, yes. But schools are eligible to apply for funding. That's all I have on the list. Did folks want to jump in and ask any other questions? We can, I think you have the ability to open your own mic. Is that true, Brent?
Yes.
All right, well, if you do, certainly don't hesitate to reach out to us. As I said, please sign up. Critical thing for staying in contact with us. Get you on our emailing list, you know what's coming down. But otherwise, as I said, periodically step back to jump onto our website to the financial assistance pages and make sure you you can see what's coming. That current offering for the sample tree inventory and canopy cover assessment program, those applications period is open now and closes on the 28th. Opening March 1st will be those 2 other areas, urban forestry practices and then community forestry practices and activities. Opening March 1st. As well as that special projects offering. Give us your ideas that are a little bigger than all we may lay out here, but there is no funding tied to that, so recognize that. Then we do plan to have another offering, similar kind of layout in July. All right. Well, thank you for all for attending, and happy Valentine's Day.